Hello everyone, Zach here, and we gotta talk. We need to talk about the 1070 Ti and why it irks the hell out of me. To most people, it might not bother you at all, but from a consumer standpoint, it really bothers me. The 1070 Ti is obviously, to kind of close that gap from 56 being a little bit better than the 1070 in some cases, just to kind of snuff out finally that little Radeon card. That's fine. Totally awesome. It's great to see two competitors go at it to create a better product for the consumer. But is it a truly better product? Because it definitely is on paper, but what's going on here? The Founders Edition card will be clocked a little bit higher than the 1070. It will GPU boost higher than the 1070 and will be just a little bit under the 1080. Completely fine. It's Founders Edition. It's got a blower style card. It's how it'll come from Nvidia. Right? Okay. Now let's use EVGA. They're aftermarket cards. We all know their super clocked edition. It'll come out the box with a nice little overclock for us. That's not going to happen with the 1070 Ti. The reason being is Nvidia specifically has told their aftermarket partners that they are not allowed to put anything with overclocking on their boxes, nor are they allowed to have a stock overclock, essentially from them to the consumer, applied. So out of the box, the 1070 Ti Founders Edition and an aftermarket card will be the same. They'll GPU boost up to around the same point. That's just it. Why on earth would Nvidia do something like this? It's to not devalue their 1080. Because the closer their 1070 Ti gets to the 1080, what's the point about buying the 1080? For us enthusiasts, there is a point to buy the 1080. You could clock it even higher and you can get it even further ahead and reestablish the gap between the 1070 Ti overclocked versus an overclocked 1080. But for a regular consumer, someone I'm thinking of, someone that goes to a store, buys a new GPU, puts it in their rig, and does nothing with it, just depends on it to come out of the box. They won't buy the Founders Edition. They'll probably buy the aftermarket. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's got the nicer coolers. There's a little bit more copper maybe, all those big selling points. But they're hurting themselves. They assume that this is going to come out of the box probably overclocked. It might not have the literature on it, but if it looks the same as previous cards past, I would understand why they would think it would come with an overclock. But they won't have it. They'll be performing just as well as the 1070 Ti Founders Edition. Why? That just hurts the consumer. They won't understand what's going on. Now, EVGA has remedied this, and I really appreciate what they're doing. They're awesome for creating software that will manually go ahead and overclock their cards. So, well, 1070 Ti specifically. So you'll download the software, apply a little overclock to your 1070 Ti. Fantastic. But why does that have to be an option? Why does the consumer have to download more bloat when in previous years that same card, that same branded style card, would come with the overclock? Wouldn't have to touch it at all. Wouldn't have to worry about it if you're just the average person. But now, what are they going to do? Just buy a bunch of 1070 Ti Founders Editions? No. I just did not see the point of this 1070 Ti hitting the market. If they were so worried about it getting so close to the 1080, why release it? Why not maybe lower a little bit the price of the 1080, just sell more? It would definitely overpower the Vega 56 for a little bit less of a price point. Heck, even right now, if you wanted an aftermarket 1070 Ti, just wait a little bit for a 1080 sale. You could get a GTX 1080 for maybe around $480, what I saw on our Build a PC sales not too long ago. It really bothers me. And so I actually went ahead and I did two things. I did a small poll on Reddit, which I'll link in the description, and you can probably still go ahead and vote on it if you'd like. And then I asked my fellow co-host, who sadly couldn't be here with us today. He had a bunch of work to do. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my phone. We're going to go ahead and read it. So we're going to go ahead and start with his opinion, and then we're going to jump into what's going on with the poll. He believes it's strange. He thinks it's a reaction to their stacks being so close is why they would make the inability for the aftermarket manufacturers to apply their overclocks like they normally would. The 1070 Ti would look as good on paper as a 1080 for those that are not overclocking themselves and are just buying based on graphs online, and those people would end up buying the 1070 Ti. Now, Nvidia wants them to buy the 1080, but by forcing this lower clock, there will be a difference between the two. And he goes on to say, you know, similar to us enthusiasts, that stuff doesn't matter, we just overclock. And the only thing it really does to us, we have no way of knowing if it will at least hit a certain clock. So that overclock that would be applied to the card from the manufacturer, we would know it would at least hit that point. But now, even when buying a manufacturer card, you're not guaranteed that overclock, which you normally would have. You don't have that knowing. So, I mean, it's just kind of a luck of the draw. Now, he and I generally share the same opinion, but he definitely sees the 1070 Ti as being okay to be out there. And that's where we differ. That's fine. You can differ the same way. But we have to acknowledge how terrible of a business practice it is to do something for so long and then just change it at the drop of a hat, just so you don't end up losing money on your other card, which if you were worried about that in the first place, maybe it wasn't the best idea to go ahead and release this card. Now I'm going to open up the poll and I'm going to tell you how we did the polling. So I asked 4 questions. Well, yeah, 5, sorry. The first one, there were a total of, 18 people voted in the poll. Not many to source from, but it's something. Like I said, if you'd like to go ahead and vote, it'll be in the description. First question was, the 1070 Ti is a perfect card and is a card I find to be a viable option. 1 person voted for that. The 1070 Ti is a great card, but I dislike the lack of aftermarket cards to OC automatically with software. 4 votes. The 1070 Ti is a cash grab to snuff out the Vega 56. 3 people. The 1070 Ti is not worth the price and I would rather get a 1080. 10 votes. The 2 highest being the 1070 Ti is not worth the money, I'd rather get a 1080. And the 1070 Ti is a great card, but they dislike the lack of overclock outside of the box when it's purchased by an aftermarket manufacturer. So, there are some people that share these sentiments, and I really think it's something Nvidia needs to keep in mind. The card is great. There's no denying it's a good card. People are definitely split on whether it should be a viable option or should it even exist. And my co-host and I are definitely 2 people split on this. He says it should exist, and I say it shouldn't. I just kind of made this to kind of flesh this out with you guys and kind of air my grievances with this kind of business practice, because at the end of the day, someone doesn't have as much knowledge as some of us do with overclocking and things of the like. They're a consumer that is being screwed over. And it's just a terrible practice. It's just a really sad thing. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this video. Like I said, I just wanted to share my feelings with you guys. Go ahead and tell me in the comments how you feel. If you agree with me, if you have a different opinion, I would be glad to hear it. And on that note, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you again next week.